I'm your host Ellie, and I'm with the legendary writer Garth Ennis. We're here today at the Imperial War Museum, as Garth has come over to talk about some of the many comic war stories and how war is close to your heart, I suppose. not in a bad way, obviously.
I'm going to be talking about some of the war stories I've done, battlefields, I suppose the Rifle Brigade, the War Stories, which is the highly original title we came up with for the Vertigo series, Enemy Ace, the Phantom Eagle, Battle of Britain, all the stuff I managed to sort of fit into my career over the past
you've got a really
15 years.
Expansive set of comics, that Unknown Soldier, etc., like you mentioned, and you've really managed to put across that attitude and behaviour, the psychology almost between these close-knit groups that can occur, in dire situations. And how do you feel that has influenced a lot of the comics that you're now producing? Like The Boys, you have this very tight-knit group.
The Boys in a way is in recent issues. I brought this to the fore is kind of in a way a comment on the sort of themes you see not just in comic books but in action stories of all kinds, TV and the movies. We like to seize on the notion of a little team of specialists who can make a huge difference, but in real life that's actually pretty far from the truth, particularly when it comes to warfare. Special forces and so on might be sexy when it comes to people making films. It might be a great way to tell a story because you can concentrate the narrative into just 4 or 5 people's experience. But in reality, warfare is really about thousands, millions of people, huge armies meeting on battlefields, destruction on an industrial level. In real life, the individual or the little team of individuals can make very little difference at all. And that's something actually that in the next year or so you'll see in The Boys kind of coming to the fore, the idea of whether or not the team, the Special Forces unit, is a good idea at all.
Right. Do you feel that these kind of insertions of small pockets of people can lead to chaotic behaviour that we get to see?
The question is really not so much what harm they can do, but whether they do any good at all. Ever since the Second World War, people have been in love with the idea of special forces. People like Churchill, Kennedy, they all had a fascination with the notion. They thought, what a great idea. Little team of highly trained, extremely effective individuals, drop them behind enemy lines, have them cause havoc. In actual fact, the amount of damage a small team of people can do is really directly related to what they can carry, which isn't much. We like to think that guys blowing up a bridge or some railway lines, things like that, is going to have a decisive effect. It can if you time it just right. Mostly what happens is the enemy just repair the bridge and go back to business as usual.
When you talk about war a lot of the time, you kind of put this black comedy style to it. It's almost like you shouldn't laugh, but you want to laugh, and then you're almost testing people's moral code when they're reading it because they don't know whether they should laugh or they're not, and their kind of inner child seems to come out a lot of the time. Where do you get this kind of black comedy, style? What's influenced you?
Yeah, most military memoirs, especially first-person accounts, do contain a good deal of humour. Probably because you're talking about people in circumstances so ghastly that the only way to stay sane is to find a way to laugh it off. You find people becoming inured to the ghastly things they see, and they start to find them funny, possibly because it's that or suffer complete mental overload. You get used to it. If you don't, you'll go nuts.
Right. A lot of these, recently, you've written a movie and directed a movie called Stitched, and that's also based on some soldiers who have got no water, nothing, but they're left in the wilderness to try and survive. And the Taliban are threatening them, but that's not the real threat. And it was a short.
That's right, it's 15 minutes.
15 minutes. And you, San Diego, was there the suggestion that there's going to be a comic now?
There's going to be a comic that will kind of continue the story, and that's being done by Mike Wolfer, the writer-artist on Gravel. I worked with him before on a western called Streets of Glory, and I really think he's terrific, excellent artist.
Do you plan on in launching the movie, going to the next level?
That's the idea. If we can rustle up enough cash to make a feature, then yes, we will be able to finish the story on the screen.
How do you feel the crossover between writing for comics and writing for scripts?
There really isn't a crossover. You do each job according to the conventions that are peculiar to it. I found that when I was writing the screenplay and I've written a couple of others too, you're not really thinking about writing comics at the time, you're writing it in the form that's appropriate.
What about the choreography? I mean, because you normally get an artist to do the artwork.
Yeah, that was the big difference, but that came not at the writing stage, but actually directing the thing in the moment. That's when, whereas we normally just turn it over to an artist, and he would pick the angles and he would design the characters and he would place them in the shots. All of a sudden you're doing that. You have the director of photography to help you, and obviously the actors have to make their own decisions about what they're doing. But really, you do find yourself having to put them in the frame, give them a little nudge here and there, an actor's performance, for instance, like a little bit less of that, a little bit more of that, that kind of thing. Yeah, so all of a sudden you're much more actively involved. It's a lot less passive than just sitting in your office knocking out a script.
Right.